Hello, everybody. How are you doing? I hope you're doing fine wherever you are today. Now, as you know, this is your presenter, Generic Stories, and I'm hoping that you're great, you're fine wherever you are today. Now, today's message is not to fearmonger anybody, but I think as Black people, we need to create this awareness and also appreciate the work that our Black brothers and sisters are doing to make us safe and be on the lookout for everything that is happening to a melanated person, either in US or outside United States. Remember, for the longest time, the enemy has always been afraid of Black people uniting, and they've strived so much to do this to make Black folks not unite. And in this video, we're gonna be watching. There's a secret plan that the enemy is doing to exterminate all Black folks inside Africa and outside Africa, like globally, right? Because they feel like Black people could be a threat to a couple of plans that they have. So the first plan is to do away with Black people across the world. Now, why is this happening? This is happening because I want you to watch this video for you to get the reason as to why this is happening. Two, this tells me that for the longest time I've been talking about Black unity in my channel. It is about time Black people unite. Whether you are in Africa, whether you are in outside Africa, whether in Brazil, whether you are in the United States, whether you are in Mexico, it's about that time that Black folks need to unite, because this all reveals the fear that the enemy has. But at the end of the day, if we could realize the power that we have as Black folks, all these cannot make us fear anything, but can make us see as what we have is our asset. As I usually say, that the only asset that a Black person has is unity, because no one is caring about where you are, who you are, and what you're doing. Now, I want us to watch this video. I don't want to say much. I want us to watch this video. Shout out to T and Me. I got this video from their channel. These are African American sisters who have been in Tanzania. They're trying to share all this information. So I want you to watch this video as a Black person and tell me what you think in the comment section. Let's watch, let's have a discussion, and then I'll let you watch the video. And then at the end of it, we'll have a proper first discussion and then, say something at the end of it. Now let's watch the video. I'll be back. If you're watching this video for the first time, consider subscribing to the channel membership, and let's get into it.
My name is Ambassador Tim Ford Jr. of the African Union, AUCS, and I've been living over in East Africa, Tanzania for almost 5 years, and I help my people invest, rebuild, and return over to the continent of Africa. But today, my wife is going to come to you guys with a very, very, very urgent message with some information that we just came across that's actually going to help our people move forward during these times and have an understanding of what's going on while we deal with these things during these times right now. Now, this is not to invoke fear or cause any mayhem in some people. This is just to give you information to let you know what's going on, because scriptures tell us that the Lord says his people perish because of a lack of knowledge. So if we give the knowledge, if we have the knowledge and access to the important information that we need to have, then we can better prepare ourselves during these times so that we can strategically position ourselves to be successful and be on the right side of history. So guys, check out this important information that my wife have to bring you guys, and I'll be back.
Peace and blessings, guys. My name is Siobhan Ford. I'm Tim's wife, as many of you guys know. So today we're going to be doing a video. This is a very important video, probably like the most important video that I've ever done. And it's going to be talking about the extermination of Blacks in America and globally, their plan. I'm gonna go through their plan that they planned all the way from the 1940s, and that's actually being enacted today in real time. So before I get started, guys, I want you guys to, if you can, get a pen and a paper so you can take notes and go back and look this stuff up after we're done with the video. Or if you have your phone, just take some notes in your phone of some key points that I'm going to be talking about for you guys to go ahead and look it up later on. Okay, so I'm going to go through the timeline of this very, very nefarious plan that they have to get rid of all of the minorities. So Black people, whether you're in America, in Africa, or somewhere else. So I'm going to start with something called the Policy Planning Study, or PPS 23, which was done in February of 1948. And before I get started, I want to give credit to the person that I got this information from, because a lot of this information has been scrubbed from the internet and it's hard to find. So this information I got by a man by the name of Dr. Hagens, and he talked about this stuff almost like 11, 12 years ago. Actually, no, it's been longer than that. He talked about this stuff almost like 30 years ago, excuse me. So yeah, going back to Policy Planning Study PPS 23, February 1948, a man named George Kennan said the U.S. must devise a pattern of relationships which will allow them to retain 50% of the world's wealth while only having 6% of the world's population. So think about the time period that's in. 1948 is during World War II, when the Nazis, they were doing a lot of experiments, human experiments on the different subjects that they would take into the concentration camps. And so they were doing studies on population control, how to make populations docile. They were using different techniques and things of that nature. So they actually brought a lot of these people over to the U.S. in Operation Paperclip. So this particular plan was formulated in 1948, right? So now we're gonna go ahead into something called the King Alfred Plan, aka Rex 84, which is the extermination of blacks in America and globally, right? So the person that I mentioned earlier, he actually found a lot of this information at the U.S. Library of Congress. It was originally classified information. And if you actually go online right now and try to type in King Alfred Plan, it's just going to show you like some information about a fictitious book, a novel that someone wrote, which is not what this is. This is completely different. They virtually like scrubbed the internet of a lot of this information. So you kind of have to like know specific things to look up, and like so that you can actually find the real information and not just what they want you to see, right? So the King Alfred Plan was classified, and it was recently been declassified after many years. It was developed between the years of 1960 to 1964 by an organization called the National Security Council. We all know, we've all familiar or have heard of the National Security Council. And this plan actually details the arrest, detention, and encampment and extermination of the black population in America. And it was actually amended to include the Hispanic population by President Ronald Reagan in 1984. However, the original King Alfred Plan was originally approved by President Lyndon Johnson, right? So I'm gonna jump down to the National Security Memorandum 200. And this was in 1974. After they formulated the King Alfred Plan, they went ahead and did another plan called the National Security Memorandum 200. And I'm going to read a little bit from this plan. So this is April 24th, 1974, Washington, D.C. And this is the National Security Study Memorandum 200. And it was sent to the Secretary of Defense, the Secretary of Agriculture, the Director of the Central Intelligence Agency, or the CIA, the Deputy Secretary of State, Administrator, and the subject of the study is implications of worldwide population growth for U.S. security and overseas interests. So this is what they're trying to figure out, what's going on with population growth, how is this going to affect U.S. security and U.S. interests, because remember, their plan is to retain 50% of the world's population, of the world's wealth, excuse me, while only having 6% of the world's population. So they have to do studies to figure out how they can do this. They can't just formulate a plan. They have to study it and see exactly how they're going to do it. So in this study in 1974, it says the president has directed a study of the impact of world population growth on U.S. security and overseas interests. The study should look forward at least until the year 2000. So they wanted the study to run from 1974 all the way up until the year. They wanted them to do projections into the year 2000 to see how this was going to affect them. And they also said to use several alternative reasonable projections of population growth. So they wanted them to come up with different projections and models and they can decide which one they were going to use. In terms of each projection or model, the study should assess, one, the corresponding pace of development, especially in poorer countries, the demand for U.S. exports, especially of food, and the trade problems the U.S. may face arising from competition for resources, and the likelihood that population growth or imbalances will produce disruptive foreign policies and international instability. The study should focus on the international political and economic implications of population growth, and the study should then offer possible courses of action for the United States in dealing with population matters abroad, particularly in developing countries, with special attention to these questions. One question is, what, if any, new initiatives by the United States are needed to focus international attention on the population problem? So they're making the world's population a problem for some reason. And we know why that is, because if there's, I think today they said there's like almost 7 billion people on the earth. Pretty much like 90% of those people are minorities and people of color. So I see why they have an issue with the population problem, right? And also they wanted to know, can technological innovations or development reduce population growth, or ameliorate its effects? And also, could the United States improve its assistance in the population field? And if so, in what form and through which agencies? And they wanted them to send whatever they came up with back to the president for consideration, right? So this is National Security Memorandum Study 200 from 1974. And in 1975, Henry Kissinger, we all are familiar with Henry Kissinger, he stated that a reduction of the rate of population is a matter of U.S. national security, since the U.S. will require large and increasing amounts of materials from abroad in less developed countries, which gives the U.S. enhanced interest in these countries, right? So, going back to the National Security Memorandum Study 200, right? He said he wanted them to look into, do projections into the year 2000 to see how they could initiate their nefarious plan. So President Jimmy Carter actually entered a directive to Congress on May 23rd, 1977, ordering a 3-year study on how to reduce the world's population. This report in the year 1980 was called the Global 2000 Report to the President. You can look this up. And I'm just going to point out some key points from this report. The report found that there would be 0 population growth for the whites by the year 2000. So we're in 2025. So we're 25 years past their projections. So we see why things are happening the way they are right now. And if they don't do something to stop that, in order to preserve the white race, that they were going to have a 0 population growth. And it also stated that lands which contain resources that the U.S. needs must be freed of its population. And when you talk about the wildfires, the West Coast has one of the largest populations of Black and minority people in the United States of America, right? And then they go on to how they're going to destroy different countries in Africa. So they say they're going to destroy woodlands in the Sahel region to increase the destruction of topsoil and promote desert conditions. The Sahel region, I'm pretty sure many of you guys who watch this channel are familiar with the Sahel region. That's Mali, Burkina Faso, Nigeria. We've all been watching closely on what's going on in West Africa, and how many of the leaders in West Africa are becoming hip to what they have been planning, and they're kicking the French out, kicking the colonizers out. We've done several videos discussing this. But this plan is from 1977, guys. They've been at this for so many decades and so many years, and they're actually doing it. They're actually doing whatever they said they were going to do in the Sahel region as we speak, or they were until they got kicked out. They also said they were going to pollute waters in coastal areas in North Africa, and it also stated that fertility rates will be severely reduced. So do your imagination and think about how they're going to be reducing fertility rates. They also stated that the price of food will increase 95%. They also stated that Central Africa's food production will drop to 20% below the Food and Drug Administration's standard for survival. We all know Central Africa is like the Congo region. We all know about the war and the instability that has been going on in the Congo for so many years. So this is not just a plan. This is something that they're actually doing in real time. They also state that weather will be manipulated to affect demand and production of food exported from other countries. So we people have been talking about the weather manipulation for so many years, but this is actually thought of by the government in 1977. The report also states that although the needs of Latin America and Africa could be met in one generation, the U.S. opted for world model number 3, which calls for massive famine in Asia and non-oil producing countries in Africa. So they had a few different models they could choose from. They chose the one that will cause the most destruction to the developing countries. Go figure, right? So I'm going to jump forward a year, right? So this was in 1977 that Jimmy Carter entered this directive to do the 3-year study, right? So now we're going to fast forward to the National Security Memorandum 46, which basically states that blacks must never be allowed to unite in the U.S. or in Africa. And I'm going to read some of the key points from this National Security Memorandum Study 46, because they're always doing studies and plans on how they're going to stop us, how they're going to exterminate us. And we haven't even gotten into the really nefarious part of this, which they're doing today. But we'll get there. Stay with me, guys. Follow me along this journey. So it says the National Security Council Memorandum 46 from March 17, 1978, Presidential Review Memorandum to the Secretary of State, Secretary of Defense, the Director of the CIA. And the subject matter is Black Africa and the U.S. Black Movement. The President has directed that a comprehensive review be made of current developments in Black Africa from the point of view of their possible impacts on the Black movement in the United States. The review should consider 1. Long-term tendencies of social and political developments and the degree to which they are consistent with or contradict the U.S. interests. 2. Proposals for durable contacts between radical African leaders and leftist leaders of the U.S. Black community. 3. Appropriate steps to be taken inside and outside the country in order to inhibit any pressure by radical African leaders and organizations on the U.S. Black community for the latter to exert influence on the policy of the administration toward Africa. And the president stated that he wanted to report within 1 month by April 20th. So they talk about how the West may face a real danger of being deprived of access to the enormous raw material resources of Southern Africa, which are vital for our defense needs, as well as losing control over the Cape Sea routes, by which approximately 65% of Middle Eastern oil is supplied to Western Europe. And I'm going to jump now. I'm just going to read some of the key points. So it says, apart from the above-mentioned factors adverse to U.S. strategic interests, the nationalist liberation movement in Black Africa can act as a catalyst with far-reaching effects on the American Black community by stimulating its organizational consolidation and by inducing radical actions. An occurrence of the events of 1967 to 1968, aka the Civil Rights Movement, would do grievous harm to U.S. prestige, especially in view of the concern of the present administration with human rights issues. It says, such steps might be misunderstood both inside and outside the United States. In order to prevent such a trend and protect U.S. national security interests, it would appear essential to elaborate and carry out effective countermeasures, y'all. There are agents among us. We've talked about this 2-3 years ago. This is really real. And just wait a minute, I'm going to get a little bit more into it. So it further goes on to talk about what are their recommendations to prevent this. It says, in weighing the range of U.S. interests in Black Africa, basic recommendations arranged without intent to imply priority are, so in no specific order, it says 1. Specific steps should be taken with the help of appropriate government agencies to inhibit coordinated activity of the Black movement in the United States. 2. Special clandestine operations should be launched by the CIA to generate mistrust and hostility in American and world opinion against joint activity of the two forces and to cause division among Black African radical national groups and their leaders. Y'all, this is literally what is going on right now in real time. Agents have followed the people who are doing the work back in Africa, and people need to really wake up and understand that that's what's going on. This is really happening. It's never stopped. This is their plan, and they are doing it. And it also says the FBI should mount surveillance operations against Black African representatives and collect sensitive information on those, especially at the UN, who oppose U.S. policy toward South Africa. The information should include facts on their links with the leaders of the Black movement in the United States, thus making possible at least partial neutralization of the adverse effects of their activities. Yeah, if y'all don't think that the FBI and the CIA are watching what we're doing and they don't want this to happen because it's going to affect their U.S. national interest, their national security, their view on the world stage, their nefarious plan to reduce the world's population, think again, y'all. This is very, very serious.
Now, honestly, I got to come in real quick and add my 2 cents on this part because, listen, y'all, this part gave me the chills when I actually read it, and I actually got an understanding of what was really going on, because if you guys are our loyal subscribers and you've been watching our journey and staying tuned to what's going on, like my wife mentioned, almost 3 years ago, we actually mentioned that we were in the midst of agents. Like, we felt it within our spirit, like it was some crazy things going on, and we were like, hold on, like, nah, these got to be agents. So we just said it, but now to have it on paper, to really see that this is a strategic plan to really stop us from coming back to Africa, this is really crazy. And not only did we do a video a few years ago talking about it, we recently did a few talking about some of the things. We literally were battling some things within these past few months, are really still in the process of battling some things from crazy individuals, y'all. I met some individuals, we met some individuals where it was just like, it was almost... it was weird that they were acting so, like, literally acting slow. I can explain everything to them thoroughly. I could say it 10 times, 20 times, write it down, send a message, send my lawyer to talk to them, have someone hold their hand through the entire process. But it seems like they were dead set on causing issues, causing problems. We tried to mediate and get on one accord and talk as a group and really try to move forward together. And they were just dead set on being negative and causing confusion and causing division and causing us to not move forward. They're trying their best to hinder and sabotage what we have going on. Literally a few days before we actually got this document and saw what it was actually talking about, I was feeling within my spirit like, man, what we just encountered, what we just dealt with, the people, the way that they were acting, it was literally agents. It had to be people that's getting salaries, getting paid to actively work against what we have going on. So I'm living it. I'm literally experiencing exactly what this paper is talking about. I'm not out here just joking and trying to play games and show y'all cute videos about Africa. No, Africa is nice. Africa is beautiful. But we are up against some crazy people that doesn't want many of us to enjoy this. So we have to understand what we're dealing with and who we're dealing with. They're not just writing this on these papers and playing games and pretending like, oh, we're not going to really do it. This was a joke. This is not a joke. This is our lives. This is my wife and I's life, for one. I know other people, like she said, that's in this movement that's actually trying to help our people. One of my brothers actually was incarcerated behind the lies of people. He's over in one of the African countries. He's actually trying to help people and help them get houses and help them get established when they get here. And these people done lied on my brother and got this man put in jail. So we living it over here. This stuff is real life. So this is an active plan. It's unfortunate, but it's the reality of what we're dealing with as a people. So that doesn't mean live in fear and not do anything and become crippled and lazy. No. Get right. Get your mind right and understand they trying to stop us, but that means we can still overcome because we have the knowledge now, like I said in the beginning, to be able to overcome, to be able to move, to be able to understand what's being thrown our way. Because a lot of us feel this within us. A lot of us feel the call to come to Africa, but a lot of us are afraid because of the sabotage that people do. So you got to think for yourself during this time. You got to feel for yourself. Don't allow somebody else to come within you and plant seeds of doubt, plant seeds of judgment when you haven't experienced what they're talking about. If you haven't experienced what they're talking about, don't take hold of what they're saying. There's agents among us, y'all. Real talk. So we got to move strategically. Don't give everybody your business. Don't be talking and telling everybody what you plan on doing when you get over here. Don't think you can just link with anybody that's black and say, oh, let's build something. No. I wish it was like that. But in the reality of what we're dealing with, based off the information that we have and based off the experience from our lives, no, that's not a good idea. And the craziest part of all this is the fact that all we want to do, literally, all we want to do is get our families in a good position, is get out of that environment, is really position ourselves as a people so we can really build something, so we can build our own America. That's all we want to do. We want to build our own. We want to be left alone. But by us having this mindset, by us wanting to move by ourselves, by us thinking that we have the audacity to build something, we are becoming a U.S. national security threat. We are a threat for thinking like this. This is mind-blowing and crazy to even be experiencing and living right now, but it is what it is. All I wanted to do was do YouTube videos and show people what's possible in Africa and hopefully inspire some people to do the same thing. But unfortunately, because I want to keep it real, because I want to show people the truth, because we want to give people an example of what's possible and show what's going on, we've been targeted by governmental agencies to try and hinder and stop the progress that we're doing. And all we want to do is help our people. So just let that sink in for a second. We not out here telling nobody to go hurt nobody. We not trying to form groups to go and do anything along those lines. We just want to be left alone and build in our own space and be in peace. But instead of us being able to complete that without any opposition, they send strategic opposition to try to stop what we have going on because it's a threat. It's a threat to their bottom line. It's a threat to their bottom dollar. So this is a part of it. But one thing we can't do is run. One thing we can't do is backtrack from what we've been called to do in the assignment and the mission that's been put within us. So it's our duty and our missions to bring these messages forward, to let y'all know what's going on and shine light on what's going on out here. So you do what you want with the information. I'm going to let my wife get back to giving y'all this information. But, hey, this is real talk. This ain't a joke. This ain't a game. They not playing with us. So take heed. I hope you're taking notes, and I hope you're paying attention. Bye.
So now we're going to get into the actual King Alfred plan. So the title of it is the United States of America King Alfred Plan, codenamed Rex 84. And I'm going to read some of it. It says, in the event of widespread and continuing and coordinated racial disturbances, King Alfred, at the discretion of the president, so he doesn't need approval from Congress or the Senate or local leaders or anyway, at his own discretion, so essentially by an executive order perhaps, King Alfred is to be put into action immediately. And these are all of the organizations which will be acting in tandem with him. So participating federal agencies will include the National Security Council, the CIA, the FBI, the Department of Justice, the Department of Defense, and the Department of the Interior. So that's all of the federal agencies. Participating state agencies, the National Guard and the state police. Participating local agencies, the city police and the county police. And again, remember I said that this original plan was initiated by President Lyndon Johnson. But in 1984, when it was amended by President Ronald Reagan, he actually added some other groups into it. So he added the neo-Nazi groups in Texas, Louisiana, and Mississippi, along with state militia groups, white paramilitary groups, can somebody say the KKK, and white supremacist groups and the Proud Boys, will be automatically deputized to round up blacks and Hispanics for encampment to detention camps. And I was looking at something the other day where they were saying that Mississippi was already trying to do something like this. They already proposed a law. One of their reasonings for putting this into place, there's another memo from the National Security Council chairman, and I'm going to read just a little bit of it. They go on to say why they think that this is necessary. They say, even before 1954, when the Supreme Court of the United States of America declared unconstitutional separate educational and recreational facilities, racial unrest and discord had become very nearly a part of the American way of life. But that way of life was repugnant to most Americans. Since 1954, however, that unrest and discord have broken out into widespread violence, which increasingly have placed the peace and stability of the nation in dire jeopardy. This violence has resulted in loss of life, limb, and property, and has cost the taxpayers of this nation billions of dollars. And the end is not yet in sight. This same violence has raised the tremendously grave question as to whether the races can ever live in peace with each other. Each passing month has brought new intelligence that despite new laws passed to alleviate the condition of the minority, aka blacks and Hispanics, the minority still is not satisfied. Demonstrations and rioting have become a part of the familiar scene. Troops have been called out in city after city across the land, and our image as a world leader severely damaged. Our enemies press closer, seeking the advantage, possibly at a time during one of these outbreaks of violence. The minority has adopted an almost military posture to gain its objectives, which are not clear to most Americans. It is expected, therefore, that when those objectives are denied, the minority racial war must be considered inevitable. When that emergency comes, we must expect the total involvement of all 22 million members of the minority. Now, this is in the 70s, so there's way more than 22 million of us now. And it says, members of the minority, men, women, and children, for once this project is launched, its goal is to terminate, once and for all, the minority threat to the whole of the American society and indeed the free world. And this was signed by the chairman of the National Security Council. So they said their plan is to terminate once and for all the minority problem. They're seeing us as a problem. We're not even considered Americans. We're considered minorities, two different groups of people. So now once they proposed the King Alfred plan, the National Security Council, all of the different agencies that I mentioned, the CIA, FBI, Department of Justice, they all started giving their replies and their advice and their strategies that they thought that they could add to the plan to make it better and to make it work smoothly. So they all issued out their own memos about the King Alfred plan and sent it around to each other to come up with an even better plan of how they were going to initiate all of this stuff and make sure that it ran smoothly. So in the preliminary memo from the Secretary of the Department of Interior, they state that under the King Alfred plan, they would divide the nation into 10 regions in case of an emergency. So in case of an emergency, minority members will be evacuated from cities by National Guard and other agencies and detained in nearby military installations until a further course of action can be decided. So is that not what's going on right now? Are they not rounding people up? The National Guard, the troops, the police. So these 10 regions that they're going to divide the country into are the Capital Region, the Northeast Region, the Southeast Region, the Great Lakes Region, South Central Region, Deep South Region number 1, Deep South Region number 2, because there's so many black people in the Deep South, the Great Plains and Rocky Mountain regions, the West Coast and the Southwest. And they said that no attempts will be made to seal off the Canadian and Mexican borders. So right here, I just want to interject real quick because if any of y'all watch our channel, we did a video in, I think, July of 2024. It was called, Will You Get on the Ark? And we did another live video and it was called, The Beast System is Here. In those two live videos, I was talking about, oh wow, there goes a butterfly. Hey, wow. In those two videos, I was discussing my dreams that I had, where I've had several dreams where they were rounding people up. They were going from home to home, and these were troops. They were rounding people up, and only the people who were like hiding or like knew what was going on, they were able to escape. But most of the people got rounded up, right? And I talked about in the video where I talked about the B system is here. I went into talk further detail, and I was talking about how in the dream, when the troops started coming in and round people up, I escaped with Canadian Prepper. And in the live, I was like, I don't know. I'm like, that was weird. Like, I watch his channel sometimes, but I don't know why I was escaping with him. Like, why he was just in my dream randomly. And now I see why, because that was a clue that that's one of the routes to take. And also in another dream I had, I was telling people to go, pointing them north. I was like, go north, like don't go to the south, pointing them north. And if anyone knows the geography of America and Canada, Canada is to the north of America. So just keep that in your back pocket, right? So next we have the memo that the FBI and the CIA did together, a joint combined memo on the King Alfred plan. And they say in this memo that all organizations and leaders are under constant 24-hour surveillance. And they go on to name some of these organizations. They say the Black Panthers, the Pan-African Movement, the Yehuda Movement, also aka the Israelite Movement, the Freedom Now Party, the NAACP, the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, the Black Nationalist Movement, the National Urban League, and they name other ones. Remember, this is from the 70s, so this list, I'm sure, has been expanded to include the people from today, the people who are building villages and communities in Africa for the people. They're watching everybody who is going to be able to bring people back to Africa, who are going to be able to rile people up. They're watching them. They've stated this already. And they say at the appropriate time, the leaders are to be detained. And they say because some of these leaders in these organizations are actually government plants. The president and different governmental alphabet agencies have put these leaders in place to kind of keep them kind of docile, keep us kind of like, don't do too much, don't get too crazy. Like, we'll let you protest a little bit. You know, y'all can break a few bottles, but don't get too crazy, to kind of keep us in check from not really going crazy, you know, like crashing out like we could. And then, of course, there's also leaders within these organizations who are really for the cause, who are really for the people, but they always have a mixture, and they have different plans for each group of leader. And it says, they say that it's necessary to use the minority leaders designated by the president. So the president has his own leaders designated in much the same manner as we being the FBI and the CIA, use minority members who are agents. Let me read that again. To use these minority leaders much in the same manner as we use minority members who are agents of the CIA and FBI. Y'all, we did a video 3 years ago saying they are agents among us. Some of y'all probably didn't believe us or thought, oh, there's not no agents. Like, oh, no, there is literally, quite literally, agents here. Living in Tanzania, living in different African countries, who are here to cause discord and to prevent the unification of blacks in America and blacks in Africa. That's their sole purpose. They're being paid, or they've gotten some sort of deal. They've gotten out of jail. Some people are felons. They've gotten cut deals to try to disrupt what we're doing in exchange for a lighter sentence, in exchange for wiping their record clean, in exchange for getting their passport, which you can't get if you're a felon. Gosh. And they say, we cannot, until there is no alternative, reveal King Alfred in all its aspects. So their plan is to keep this a secret. That's why if you look online, you can hardly find anything about this. This is their plan. They further go on to state, minority members of Congress will be unseated at once and detained. So all of these members of Congress and these different leaders who are, you know, in bed with the government, or think that they're working hand in hand, or that Trump is the man for the job, Maxine Walters, Candace Owens, these different type of people, these are going to be the first people that they're going to round up and detain when they fully initiate this plan, because it's already happening right now with the Hispanic population. When they're done with them, who do y'all think they're going to go to next? And they're already rounding up Black Americans, military veterans already. They're already doing this, okay? They further go on to say, files have been compiled on leaders and kept in Washington at the National Data Center, y'all. This is so nefarious. And I want to say, like, this is not to cause fear. This video is not to cause fear. But this video is for us to get prepared and to be aware, because you're going to be even more scared if this happens and you don't know what's going on. So don't have fear. God has not given us a spirit of fear, but a spirit of love, power, and of a sound mind. But it's very imperative for us to know this information and their plans that they have for us. And not to say that they'll be able to carry out all of these plans to the T, but this is their plan, and they are doing it right now, and they will catch a lot of people up in this. So now the Joint Chiefs of Staff in the Department of Defense issued their memo on the King Alfred plan and what their recommendations are and how they're going to help. So they say there will be many cities where the minorities will be able to put into the street a superior number of people with a desperate and dangerous will, and they will be a formidable enemy. So they're calling us their enemy. But some of you guys don't feel like these people are enemies. Y'all feel like Babylon is the best, you know, and y'all are going to stay there. But these people have identified us as their enemies, and we need to understand that these people are our enemies too. We were brought to America as a slave class. We were meant to be perpetual slaves. Y'all have to go back and read the papal bull that was issued out from the Pope many centuries ago, where he said that all pagans, when they were caught, you had the permission to take their lands and to make them perpetual slaves. Okay, so this plan is, everyone around the world is in on this plan. In the Western world, they're all in on this plan, on the side of their race, of their, you know, where their family, their friends and everything. They know that most of these people aren't going to turn on their loved ones, so they're going to be immediately detained and rounded up when all of this goes down, under guard. So they're going to be having them guns on them. And I don't know if y'all been watching the news, but I just saw on the news when they was rounding up the illegal immigrants or whoever they were, so they say. And they were putting them on the military planes, which has never been done before, first time ever. And that's what I saw in my dream, that troops were actually rounding people up. And they had them in the military planes. Their wrist was chained up, their feet was chained up, they had on the mask, and they were all standing over them with their guns, and they was gonna blow their brains out if they made any wrong move, anything went crazy. They was gonna shoot first and ask questions later. So they further go on to say that they can round up, arrest, and detain the whole minority population in 8 hours. This reminds me of the scripture of, can a nation be born in one day? So if they haven't planned to round up people in 8 hours, I do believe that when this happens, that's gonna everybody's gonna immediately wake up and realize what's going on. Right? So this is the plan they have to round up the entire minority population in 8 hours. They said, first, local police and minority leaders will be sent in to try to get us to stand down. So first they're going to send in the typical leaders, the bought and paid for leaders, like, oh, let's not, make a fuss. Let's just go willingly, and, we'll try to pass laws to stop them. And, first they're going to do that. And if that doesn't work, then King Alfred plan becomes initiated. So the president will order the countdown to 8 hours will begin. So in the 7th hour, which is technically the first hour, county police join local police. In the 6th hour, state police join local and county police. In the 5th hour, federal marshals join the state, county, and local agencies. In the 4th hour, National Guard units are federalized and held in readiness. In the 3rd hour, regular armed forces are alerted to take up positions, with minority troops divided and detained, along with all white sympathizers under guard. In the 2nd hour, all minority leaders are detained. In the 1st hour, the president goes on national radio and television and tells all minorities they have 1 hour to stand down, or all units will be given the green light to engage and to fully initiate the King Alfred plan to detain and round up the entire minority population. They further go on to state that we suggest that vaporization techniques be employed to overcome the production problems inherent in King Alfred's plan. Guys, I don't even know what more to say after reading that. There is nothing more to be said, guys. The proof is in the pudding. The writing's on the wall. All of the plans have been, not all of the plans, but a good majority of their plans have been declassified. This information is out there for us to read, to see that there's truth in it, to see that these things have actually been said and actually being done right now as we speak. They're currently rounding up American citizens as we speak. This is not a game. This is not something that should be taken lightly. A lot of people will try to argue or disagree and say, oh, the Most High is going to protect us. Like, yes, that's true. Of course, the Most High is going to protect his people. But that doesn't mean that you're not going to be fleeing from being detained, possibly. Like, if they're going around detaining people, like, okay, you may not actually get detained, or you may get detained and released. But the fact still remains that if they initiate, or when they've already initiated this plan, the only thing we're waiting on now is for them to initiate it fully on Black Americans. But these people are smart. They play the long game. They're not going to immediately start rounding up Black people when there's other people there who can help them, when there's other minorities who can help them fight back against them. They're going to get rid of all of the so-called, like the Hispanics, the Haitians, the Jamaicans, the people who have countries to go back to, per se, who, have a country of origin. They're going to round them up first and get rid of them so that they can come in and bind the strong man. I want you guys to be alert, to be wise, to more than anything, to be prepared. If you don't have your passports, definitely get your passports. You definitely want to be talking with your family about what your plans are because there's even a scripture that states that when you see the calamity coming and when you see the destruction drawing nigh, don't even go back in your house. Like, some of you guys are not even going to be able to go back into your house when this stuff starts happening. You want to make sure you have your go bag with you at all times. Whenever you're out and about, whenever you leave your house, make sure you have all of your important documents in there, your passports for your entire family and everything, and that y'all have a rendezvous point, a place that you guys are going to meet at. That's not the house where when and if this plan comes into effect for the Black population, that you have somewhere that you know that you're going to meet your family and your loved ones at, and that you guys have a plan to escape. As we always say, like, make your Africa plan, make your contingency plan to leave the U.S. because even the scripture states that everyone is going to go back to his own land. So this is happening right now. Whether you want to argue and say, oh, that's not true, the Most High is going to protect us, but the Most High already told you what was going to happen. He told you that they were going to be rounding people up. He told you they're going to be sending people back to their own country. He told you to flee Babylon, to save yourself, that you partake not in her plague. So we're not just going to skip over all these scriptures and then cherry pick the ones that fit us being disobedient to what he already told us.
Since we're here, gotta show y'all some of the products real quick.
This I'm not your body baby. I'm not your body.
Yeah, natural product.
Not your body.
Yeah.
Not your body.
Yeah. Say. Yeah. Come closer. Come. Busy beachy.
So I want to leave you guys with a scripture because, again, those of us who are in the Most High, we're not appointed to his wrath, and he's going to save us. But the thing is that there's something that you have to do. There's something that's going to be required of you. You're going to have to make moves. You're going to have to activate your faith and walk out that faith. It's more than just saying faith now. Now you're going to have to show your faith with your works. We're not justified by our works, but we do have works that we have to do. So I'm just going to read a couple of scriptures from Isaiah 51 and 52. I'm just going to cherry pick some of them. Isaiah 51 says, "Hearken to me, ye that follow after righteousness, ye that seek the Lord. Look unto the rock whence ye are hewn, and to the whole pit whence ye are digged. Look unto Abraham your father, and unto Sarah that bare you. For I called him alone, and blessed him, and increased him. For the Lord shall comfort Zion. He will comfort all her waste places, and he will make her wilderness like Eden, and her desert like the garden of the Lord. Joy and gladness shall be found therein, thanksgiving and the voice of melody. Hearken unto me, my people, and give ear unto me, O my nation. For a law shall proceed from me, and I will make my judgment to rest for a light of the people. My righteousness is near, my salvation is gone forth, and mine arm shall judge the people. The isles shall wait upon me, and on my arm shall they trust. Lift up your eyes to the heavens, and look up upon the earth beneath. For the heavens shall vanish away like smoke, and the earth shall wax old like a garment, and they that dwell therein shall die in like manner. But my salvation shall be forever, and my righteousness shall not be abolished. Hearken unto me, ye that know righteousness, the people in whose heart is my law. Fear ye not the reproach of men, neither be ye afraid of their revelings. For the moth shall eat them up like a garment, and the worm shall eat them like wool. But my righteousness shall be forever, and my salvation from generation to generation. Awake, awake, put on strength, O arm of the Lord. Awake, as in the ancient days, in the generations of old. Art thou not it that have cut Rahab and wounded the dragon? Art thou not it which have dried the sea, the waters of the great deep, that have made the depths of the sea a way for the ransom to pass over? Therefore the redeemed of the Lord shall return, and come with singing unto Zion, and everlasting joy shall be upon their head. They shall obtain gladness and joy, and sorrow and mourning shall flee away. I, even I, am he that comforteth you. Who art thou, that thou shouldest be afraid of a man that shall die, and of the Son of Man which shall be made as grass? And forgettest the Lord thy Maker, that hath stretched forth the heavens, and laid the foundations of the earth, and has feared continually every day because of the fury of the oppressor, as if he were ready to destroy. And where is the fury of the oppressor? The captive exile hasteneth, that he may be loosed, and that he should not die in the pit, nor that his bread should fail. For I am the Lord thy God, that divided the sea, whose waves roar. The Lord of hosts is his name. And I have put my words in thy mouth, and I have covered thee in the shadow of mine hand, that I may plant the heavens and lay the foundations of the earth, and say unto Zion, thou art my people. Awake, awake, stand up, O Jerusalem, which has drunk at the hand of the Lord the cup of his fury. Thou hast drunken the dregs of the cup of trembling, and wrung them out. And I'm going to go down to verse 22. Thus saith thy Lord, the Lord, and thy God that pleadeth the cause of his people. Behold, I have taken out of thine hand the cup of trembling, even the dregs of the cup of my fury. Thou shalt no more drink it again. But I will put it into the hand of them that afflict thee, which have said to thy soul, bow down, that we may go over. And thou hast laid thy body down as the ground, and as the street to them that went over. 52. Chapter 52. Awake, awake, put on thy strength, O Zion. Put on thy beautiful garments, O Jerusalem, the holy city. For henceforth there shall no more come into thee the uncircumcised and the unclean. Shake thyself from the dust. Arise and sit down, O Jerusalem. Loose thyself from the bands of thy neck, O captive daughter of Zion. He's telling us to really free ourselves. For thus saith the Lord, ye have sold yourselves for naught, and ye shall be redeemed without money. For thus saith the Lord God, my people went down aforetime into Egypt to sojourn there, and the Assyrian oppressed them without cause. Now therefore, what have I here, saith the Lord, that my people is taken away for naught? They that rule over them make them to howl, saith the Lord, and my name continually every day is blasphemed. Therefore my people shall know my name. Therefore they shall know in that day that I am he that doth speak. Behold, it is I. How beautiful upon the mountains are the feet of him that bringeth good tidings, that publisheth peace, that bringeth good tidings of good, that publisheth salvation, that saveth unto Zion, thy God reigneth. Thy watchmen shall lift up the voice, with the voice together shall they sing, for they shall say eye to eye, when the Lord shall bring again Zion. Break forth into joy, sing together, ye waste places of Jerusalem. For the Lord hath comforted his people, he hath redeemed Jerusalem. We're not appointed to his wrath, but we have to get out the way. The Lord hath made bare his holy arm in the eyes of all the nations, and all the ends of the earth shall see the salvation of our God. Depart ye, go ye out from thence. Touch no unclean thing, go ye out of the midst of her. Be ye clean that bear the vessels of the Lord. For ye shall not go out with haste, nor go by flight. For the Lord will go before you, and the God of Israel will be your reward. Behold, my servant shall deal prudently. He shall be exalted and extolled, and be very high. As many were astonished at thee, his visage was so marred, more than any man, and his form more than the sons of men. So shall he sprinkle many nations. The kings shall shut their mouths at him. For that which had not been told them shall they see, and that which they had not heard shall they consider. The word of the Lord has went forth. So I've done my job. I've warned you. And so it's up to you to seek guidance from the Most High as to how you should move, what your specific instructions are, where He wants you to go, what He wants you to do, how He wants you to do it. Even if you don't have money, He still will make a way for you. It's not about money. You come to God and say, I don't have money. He's going to give you the plan to get the money, to get what you need to do so that you can make moves for you and your family. So with that being said, guys, share this video, share it to as many people as you can to help get the message out of what their plan is, and so that we can be prepared and we can counteract their plan and make our own plans. All right, love you guys. Peace.
So, hey, like we said, this is not to cause fear. This is not to really make anybody feel like that they can't move, that they are actually stuck. No, you can move, you can build, you can mobilize with the right people, with the right mindset, and do the right things. God has his people protected. Don't operate in fear. Don't let this cripple you and make you feel like that you can't do anything. You're supposed to take this information, take this knowledge, and begin to move accordingly. It sucks. I know. This is not the things that we want to talk about. We just want to show Africa and chill and be at peace. But when we got this information, when we got hold of this, when the Most High gave us access to this, it was literally thrown onto us. We felt a heaviness that we can't even describe. We had to come out and say this message. We had to give the information about what we read, what we came across. And the information that we came across is diabolical, bro. And the fact that Jimmy Carter just died recently, I know y'all saw that. What does that even symbolize? What that symbolize? He was the main one that got this started, the main one that put this into place, and he just died recently. So we got to move accordingly, guys. Don't live in fear. Figure out how you're going to move during this time. Figure out the opportunities that's around the world and move accordingly. Don't let fear stop you. When they start rounding up immigrants, when they get them out of their country, who do you think they're going to get to work and actually get back in the fields and do the labor that they need to get done? Think about that. Think about that. If you don't get rounded up, man, this is crazy to even be talking about. I can't believe we... Man, y'all, listen. You have the information now. I pray to God, something comes in place where it doesn't come to fruition fast. It doesn't come to fruition where our people are able to move and get into a good position and not have to deal with it. But unfortunately, some people may have to deal with the effects of what's going on. So position yourselves, get your mind right, and take hold of the tips that my wife gave during this video. And y'all stay focused out there, man. If y'all need any help with anything in regards to Africa, Swahili courses, consultations, click the link in the description box and join us at our website. We can help y'all out, man. Man, y'all stay safe out there. Y'all stay focused. Make sure y'all keep y'all families covered and protected. And keep the shalom peace. Don't let these people stop y'all. Y'all stay safe out there. Shalom.
As you know, that there has been a secret plan to exterminate black folks. This idea is rooted on historical events, government documentation, which has covered operations and the systemic policies that have disproportionately affected black communities globally. While some of these claims are based on real declassified programs, others are interpretations or conclusions drawn from patterns of oppression, state violence, and institutional racism. So the sister talked about Rex 84, that is the readiness exercise which was done in 1984. In short time, it's called Rex 84. Now, Rex 84 was a classified U.S. government national emergency plan created during the Reagan administration, reportedly designed to test the federal government ability to detain large number of American citizens in case of civil unrest. The plan was linked to the FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, and the military, with scenarios focusing on potential uprising, especially by black activists, until civil rights groups and anti-government protest. Why is this significant? You might ask yourself this question, right? Because it reveals the U.S. government preparedness for scenarios where dissent, especially from marginalized groups, could be met with mass detention, Many believe it was designed to suppress black political movement, given its timing during the rise of organizations like the Black Panther Party. Also, another thing that the lady has talked about is the National Security Study Memorandum, that is NSSM 200. Now, drafted by Henry Kissinger in 1974, the NSSM 200 focused on population control in developing countries, particularly in Africa, Asia, Latin America. The memo argued that high population growth in these regions posed a threat to the U.S. national security, especially concerning access to natural resources. Why is this important? Some argue that the NSSM 200 reflects a covert policy of controlling black and brown populations globally. The use of sterilization programs, forced contraceptives, and economic policies tied to reproductive health in Africa and other nations have raised suspicion of genocidal intent disguised as humanitarian aid. What does this mean? I mean, for the longest time, I want you to take a picture and look at a continent like Africa, right? So when you look at a continent like Africa, you'll see that this is a place that receives all these type of things that are happening, all this type of crap that are being put to Africans. There are a lot of tests that are being done illegally, but our presidents are, our presidents are agreeing all this to happen, but at the expense of being paid. But trying all these new things to Africans, we don't even know its effects. You don't even know the impact it has on African population. So when you ask yourself this question, why are they trying to do this? There is a fear that the population, the black population, the black gene is so hard to suppress, right? So they had to use external things to try to do this. So when they use external things to try to do this, what does this mean? This means that they'll try to bring things which will look like an opportunity. But at the end of the day, when you look at it deeply, these things are things that are taking people's health back. And a couple of things that they have discussed that I feel like it's important. And people need to know this. And now I come to understand why, I've interacted with American blacks, especially the ones that have come to Kenya, Africa, the country that I am right now. You'll find most of the times they don't want to drink tap water. And I'm coming to understand why. Because you never know. They're drinking the bottled water, the distilled water, instead of drinking the tap water. Because they already know the society that they're living. These people can do anything to the water pipes, water tanks, and you can just take anything when the government wants you to do certain kind of thing, right? So all these things are happening, and this is proven by the NSSM, the National Security Study Memorandum 200. I'm also going to be discussing about the COINTELPRO, the counterintelligence program, run by the FBI from the 1950s to the 1970s. The COINTELPRO targeted civil rights leaders like Martin Luther King Jr., Malcolm X, and the Black Panther Party, and others. The program's goal was to neutralize black leaders, disrupt organizations, and prevent the rise of what the FBI called the Black Messiah, a figure who could unite and mobilize black community, right? The fear, and I've been telling you, the fear of black people uniting, this is something that melanated people across the world could use as an asset, right, to combat all the atrocities that are happening today. If I take a look at what is happening in Congo, if I take a look of what's happening in Haiti, if I take a look of what's happening across the world, especially in black places, this tells you that black people, we're not standing enough for our brothers and sisters. We're not hearing voices enough for our brothers and sisters, and this is making them win. So to counter this, what we should do is to always foster a black unity, because lack of black unity has made them winners, even economically, because a black brother, it's so hard for them to buy from another black brother. This is happening in South Africa. This is happening in the United States, right? Because this is happening in different places. I'd rather go to an Asian restaurant than go to a local African restaurant, because I feel like if I go to an Asian restaurant, I feel like it's way much of my class, and the African restaurant it's way less of my class, and that's how we feel. While we're not thinking that lack of unity makes us take our resources and gives it to other communities instead of building our melanated community, make our money circulate around us, right? So they fear the black unity because one, the population will increase. People will intermarry. Black people will intermarry, and we'll have race of different black people. Two, then their businesses will fall. Because if black people unite, what does this mean? The implication is they will be buying from black people and not other races. Because, for example, if I intermarry with a black American and they have a restaurant in, for example, let's say Kenya, I'll not go to an Asian restaurant. It is not, I mean, it is not nepotism or something, but look at it at an historical stance. Black people, if you look at, or if you try to look at the wealth disparities, right, between white and black people, it shows you why you need to be as a black person, why you need to buy or you need to support, because these people had a head start. I'm not going to be having pity for you, right? And you've been getting the generational wealth from your ancestors, and your ancestors did what to my ancestors, right? So a lot of things, when you try to look at them historically, try to make sense to you on what you're trying to explain. Another thing is black unity will make black folks stand for each other. Hear your voice, say all you want, stand up for your rights, because that's how and that's what and that's how it's supposed to be, right? Now, why does this matter? It proves that the US government actively sought to undermine black leadership through surveillance, disinformation, imprisonment, and even assassination, if there need be. The fourth thing that I'm going to be talking about is Tuskegee syphilis experiment, that is 1932 to 1972. The U.S. Public Service conducted an experiment on 600 black men in Tuskegee, Alabama, without their informed consent. Researchers allowed syphilis to go untreated to study its progression, even after penicillin became available as a cure. The impact of this experiment is the experiments show how medical systems were weaponized against black people, fueling distrust in healthcare that still continues today. You add it for yourself. The fifth thing that I'm going to be talking about is war on drugs and mass incarceration. The war on drugs launched in 1980s under President Reagan disproportionately targeted black communities. Policies like mandatory minimum sentences for crack cocaine are more prevalent in black neighborhoods versus powder cocaine common in white communities led to mass incarceration. The key point, to take away from this is that this is not just about crime control. It was political strategy to criminalize black activism, break up families, and suppress black political power through voters' disfranchisement. The sixth thing that I'm going to be talking about is Planned Parenthood and eugenics movement. Margaret Sanger, the founder of Planned Parenthood, was involved in the early 200th century eugenics movement, which aimed to control the reproduction of population deemed undesirable, often targeting black, indigenous, and immigrant communities. While modern Planned Parenthood distances itself from these roots, critics argue that the reproductive policies in black neighborhood reflect ongoing population control agendas. It's true, because during those times, eugenic movement was so much high. Remember, black was considered undesirable gene, right? And so they didn't even want white folks to intermarry with black folks, right? Because black was considered undesirable. And later on, when they discovered that black was so much desirable, they now started pushing for intermarriages. They started pushing for all these. Even some white folks came out, opened up, and said that they are going to marry black people to secure their future because of certain changes, things like global warming, in case they happen. I'm also going to be talking about what's the global context when you talk about neocolonialism and depopulation strategies. Outside America, black population in Africa and Caribbeans face policies tied to international organizations like the IMF, World Bank, and the WHO. For example, allegations of sterilization campaigns in Africa, economic policies that enforce poverty, and foreign interventions that destabilize nations rich in resources like Libya. When you try to look at the bigger picture in all that's happening across the world, you ask yourself, why all this? Right? The consistent thread through these programs and policies is the control of black population at the end of the day, economically, politically, and even socially. Some theorists have argued this is due to the following. Some have said this is fear of black unity, and it is true. A unified black population could change white supremacy globally. 2. Resource control. Africa's natural wealth makes it geopolitically a battleground. The third thing is racial hierarchies. White supremacy relies on the dehumanization of black people to maintain social, economic, and political dominance. Right? So, really tell me what you think about this video. I'll most definitely want to know what you think about this. At the end of the day, this was about educational video, and I hope you find value in it. If you're watching this video for the first time, I'll most definitely, and you've reached at this point, I'll most definitely ask you to subscribe to our channel, join our membership, and really get to see what we can offer you. But until then, let me see you in my next video. Peace out.